And we're live.
I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I
was-
almost did it. I instinctually almost did it. I didn't do it.
I know you did.
Hello, the world.
All right. Want to just get into this?
Yeah, why not? Let's do it.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to You Have to Watch This podcast. I'm Alan.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Devin.
And today we're going to be talking about the Alfred Hitchcock classic Psycho. Not the remake, the original. So we're going to get into that here shortly. This is Ryan's pick for the week. But before we do that, we like to talk about things in pop culture that we have seen over the last week or so. Sadly, the Ted Lasso finale is not out yet, so we can't talk about that, but I am ready for it.
Is it tonight?
It's tonight. I'm ready for it on one level, and the other level, I'm dreading it because I've already cried once today. I don't need to do it again. But we like to talk about things that we saw in pop culture, and I've got a pretty long story to tell you guys about my weekend because I made the pilgrimage to Smodcastle Cinemas in Atlantic Highlands, New Jersey, and saw the director's cut of Jersey Girl.
I want everyone that's listening to know that I asked about this twice before the podcast, and Alan refused to say anything about it, specifically to tell us now. I cannot wait to hear about it.
Before I get into the movie itself, let me tell you about the Smodcastle experience and why I am hell-bent on getting both of you out there.
Okay.
Sadly, it's not going to work for next weekend, but if it did, oh man. So you go into Smodcastle. I think I sent you guys some pictures of the murals he has on the wall. All actors from New Jersey. And then the walls of the hallways of the theater are just lined with movie posters. There was a Russian Goodwill Hunting poster, a bunch of Dogma stuff. By the concession stand, there's a letter from Ben Affleck to Kevin Smith during Dogma. A whole bunch of cool stuff, and that was amazing. We get there for the showing at 5:00. We don't get to our seats until about 4:55, and then about 5:15. Oh, good. My food's on its way that I just ate.
Weird.
Yeah. About 5:20, they finally start getting things ready on the stage. I'm like, well, that's weird. And about 5:30, Kevin Smith comes out and is like, before we do the movies, we do auctions here at Smodcastle Cinemas. So to raise money for the theater, because they're not a chain, to get some extra revenue in, they do an auction, and Kevin Smith is the auctioneer. I would go back and pay $50 just to watch him be an auctioneer because it was amazing. This was the first time I've ever been in a Kevin Smith crowd, while he's doing a show. The man just oozes charisma. He's so good with a crowd. The crowd work was fantastic. People were bidding out 69 and 420s left and right, and 37 because it's Clerks. And every time he's like, nice. And they auctioned off some really cool one-of-a-kind things, which some of it I showed you guys. I waited a while. A lot of the things were out of my price range, like the posters that were signed by Ben Affleck, and that was out of my price range. But
what did that start at, if you don't mind? What is that? What is a poster?
That poster started at 200, I think.
Whoa!
Because it was also signed by Liv Tyler and Kevin Smith and Jersey Girl herself, whose name I'm blanking on. But she was there as well. But they did some cool things. They did posters, they did figures, they did pins, all of it autographed. What I was able to get that I showed you guys was an autographed copy of the screenplay for Clerks 3, signed by Kevin Smith, Jason Mewes, Jeff Anderson, Brian O'Halloran, and 37 herself.
It's incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah. I paid $75 for this. And this it was funny because he goes to auction this off, and it's dead silent. And I just like, my wife is reading the other thing that I got, and she's like, I was like, can I? And she's like, yeah, sure, whatever. And just kept reading. And I was like, I'll take it. He's like, sold. So
wow.
yeah. So I got it. I didn't have to bid for it or anything. I was just like, I'll take it for $75 because I collect screenplays, and Clerks 3 is one of my favorite movies of last year. So,
I mean, that's such an incredible thing for specifically you to get because it's your collection and it's signed.
yes.
I mean, it's amazing.
Let me tell you about the other thing that I got. The thing that my wife was reading while we were, while I was getting the screenplay. So, the main reason that we went to see Jersey Girl is that movie changed a lot in post-production. Most of it through test screenings, and Kevin Smith had the results of those test screenings that he was giving out. He had they did 6 test screenings that they compared notes for. The first one that changed the whole trajectory of the movie went for like $300. I got one for like $50. It's like the 4th one. So right here, like from Miramax, signed by Kevin Smith, is all of the notes from the test screenings. And my wife's looking at it. You can compare the performance relationship ratings for each character. Raquel Castro, that's the actress who played Gertie. Like she was solid. She scored 74% in the first one, 77 in the second one, 73, 77, which is above the norm of 40%. So like it's a whole bunch of like data for Jersey Girl and how the movie changed over time. And it talks about things that were cut from the movie, and it's fascinating stuff that I cannot wait to let you guys read. But absolutely one of a kind for this one.
That's incredible. I can't believe they had that for sale.
Dude, Kevin Smith's moving, so he was like cleaning out his office. It was a lot of stuff like this. It was this kind of thing, blueprints for like the house in Jersey Girl.
Wow.
Yeah, so I thought about getting blueprints, but I was like, this is cooler. Like this fascinates me, and all the statistics. My wife, who's a math teacher, was like, "Oh yeah, this is cool. Like I could use this."
Hold on. What is like the most interesting thing you found in there? Like if you could narrow down on one.
I haven't looked at it yet because I was busy paying attention to the auction. She was reading it. But they had a lot of things. Like if they do that every show, like I need to be more prepared next time. So,
fair.
That being said, I saw the director's cut of Jersey Girl. Holy crap, guys.
Okay.
Everything I told you about what that movie was going to be from what I saw was cut, like the whole speech and everything. It's there. It's absolutely there. You don't meet Gertie, the little girl, until about 45 minutes into the movie. There's 45 minutes of J-Lo. The biggest thing in the first act that I think stands out is when Ben Affleck learns that his wife dies. Spoilers for Jersey Girl. They don't cut to music. They don't fade out. The camera just pulls back, and Ben Affleck just loses it. Like it's powerful. They did it in one take. But he just like loses it, and then they move on to the funeral scene. Like, and it stays on him too. Like, it's not like a moment. Like it's not like a brief moment. It's like a minute of just Ben Affleck breaking down.
Why did they cut that?
I can tell you why they cut that, because in the very first one of these, they talked about somebody laughed in the theater at that moment.
Oh.
And they had to cut it. The good news is, supposedly, when he announced this screening of the director's cut of Jersey Girl, Paramount, who owns Miramax now, was like, "You've got what now? One, pay us.
Really?
And two, maybe we should talk about doing this for the 20th."
When is the 20th?
Next year.
Oh, shoot.
So maybe we'll be able to watch the director's cut of Jersey Girl.
Would you recommend it though? Like, would
Yes.
you say that this is a better cut of Jersey Girl?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I there were moments where it's like, okay, there's definitely some fat to be trimmed on the movie, but overall, like there's a whole like the whole Sweeney Todd thing
Yeah.
gets set up with J-Lo.
Does it really?
Yeah, like there are 3 moments with Sweeney Todd. There's the musical moment at the end. There's them going to see it on Broadway. But before all of that, on their first date, they're talking Broadway shows, and she's like, "Well, did you ever see Sweeney Todd?" And he's like, "No, I've never seen it." And he's telling her about it, and he's just like eating a meat pie, and he's like, "Nope."
That's very fun. Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, Devin, next time you're in town, because it's not working out this time, we are going to see something at Smod Castle.
I'm truly worried I'm not going to be responsible during the auction scene or during the auction part of it at all, because everything sounds incredible. Like, I want all of that.
There were some really random stuff too. So there were like crew shirts, like wrap gifts that they auctioned off. There was like a hoodie from Dogma that they auctioned off that went for way too much and also wouldn't have fit me. But some of his hockey jerseys, like Ryan, I almost bought you one of Kevin Smith's own hockey jerseys.
Oh, incredible.
But also like a banner from when Kevin Smith had his birthday on set for Jersey Girl. They made like a huge highway banner sign.
Aw.
Cool.
Yeah, a lot of weird stuff like that, but highly recommend it. We're gonna have to keep an ear out for if they ever do release it. But that was my adventures in New Jersey. Didn't get out of the theater. The movie started at 5. It was supposed to start at 5. Did not leave the theater until 11:30.
Holy cow!
It was a
and
long
how far of a
night.
drive is that?
It was about 3.5 hours. I didn't get home until like
That's
3:30.
about right.
Oh,
Yeah.
worth it
Next,
though?
yes. Next time I'm going to make sure I book a hotel in advance and not on a holiday weekend.
Good call. Very good call.
So, but
Oh,
yeah,
that's incredible.
that's Jersey Girl, the Snyder cut. The other thing, which I almost bought one of these, but Kevin Smith went to Michael's and just got a bunch of blank canvases.
Okay.
And did drawings and auctioned them off, like various sizes of white canvas. And he's like, all I can draw is Bullwinkle, so it's just a bunch of Bullwinkles.
Of course, that's all he can draw.
And it just said Jersey Moose, and we're like dated 1 of 1, and like,
That's very
yeah.
funny. How much did those go for? Like, what is it? What is a
It-
Jersey Moose?
I think it varied from 50 to 2,000 or 200. Sorry, not 2,000.
Man, I would like a Jersey Moose.
Yeah.
So cool.
But Kevin Smith seems to be having a ball with his theater. So my wife and I were debating going back out this weekend for Hollywood Babylon, which might happen. I'm not sure yet, but
That would be very cool.
yeah. All right. Devin, you watched a thing as well. You're going to
I
probably
did.
you're probably going to talk a lot less than I just did. So
I
tell us
can't
what you
even
watched.
imagine talking close to that. I watched Blackbird. It continues my trend of I haven't seen a single bad thing on Apple TV Plus yet. It's really good. It's based on a true story. It's about somebody a drug dealer essentially, who goes to prison and then is tasked with getting a confession from a serial killer in prison already. Gets sent to a much tougher prison and gets pressure put on him to do that thing. It's really good. The cast is phenomenal. The main character in it, is the same guy that played Elton John in the Elton John biopic.
Taron Egerton.
I'm glad you said that, because I don't think I pronounced his name right once, and I say it differently every time. I think he was Tegan Egerton at one point. I try, but yeah, I mean, he's phenomenal. The lead killer guy is phenomenal. I mean, it's a really good show. It was recommended to me on a very kind of strange work trip in Edinburgh, and I think it was the only good thing to come from the trip.
Okay.
So, yeah, recommend it.
Is it more dramatic, or
It is.
Okay.
It's more dramatic. It's more tense. It's more, true crimey. But, I really enjoy that kind of thing sometimes. I don't watch true crime stuff all the time, and it's definitely not like a documentary series. It's more dramatic retelling. But yeah, every once in a while those kinds of things just hit right for me, and I'm like, yeah, this is what I'm into. So that's
Okay.
what I did with my long weekend.
Ryan, what did you do with your long weekend?
I finished a book.
What
That's
book?
pretty much it. That Greg Griffin book, the lead singer of Bad Religion. He came out with a he calls it a memoir, pretty much about like his early life and the band, stuff like that. It was good. If you're into Bad Religion, I recommend it. If you're not into Bad Religion, meh.
Did you learn anything about him? Like anything
Oh, yeah.
interesting?
Yeah,
Tell me one fact. I really put you on the spot here. That's so unfair of me, but that's okay.
The guy that assisted him to actually get his doctorate was one of Carl Sagan's best friends.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Cool.
I like that kind of stuff. I have to tell you both, I am obsessed, capital O obsessed with Terry Pratchett lately. Do you guys know him at all?
I know Good Omens.
Yep, he did Good Omens with Neil Gaiman. He also has a 41 book series called Discworld, and I am determined to read all of it. It's so good. His sense of humor is incredible, and this is all of like that's why I haven't been watching a lot lately. Is because I've been reading so much of his stuff. It's so good.
That and your wife's not there to make you watch stuff with her.
Also, that usually we'll have like something we watch over dinner. I don't do that anymore. Soon.
Okay.
She'll be back soon, thank goodness.
Yeah. All right. Well, that does it for our We Watch This segment. Let's get into the bulk of today's episode. The Alfred Hitchcock film, Psycho. Ryan, this is your pick, so I'm going to let you take point on it and take it away.
Okay, so Psycho, one of Alfred Hitchcock's more well-known movies that came out in 1960. I think it might have been one of his last, if not last, black and white film. And it's a movie that I saw. This is the third. The time I watched it this weekend for this podcast was the third time I ever watched it. I saw it once when I was a kid, maybe like 10 or 11. My parents were watching it, so I just kind of zoned in and out playing with my toys. But so I don't really remember a lot of it. Second time I watched it, I was in high school and thought, wow, this is really boring but interesting at the same time. And then watching it this time, I was like, okay, I actually really dig this compared to what I, thought before. The reason why I watched it in high school again was because my dad had me watch High Anxiety, the Mel Brooks movie that I'm working towards having these guys watch. And my dad wanted me to watch the movies that were key to that film and Mel Brooks's film. So I could get the similarities between some of that movie and this one. This is probably number 2 or 3 on my favorite Hitchcock movies at this point, now that I've watched it with like an adult brain. And so, yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. That's my little background on it. Now, how about you guys? Obviously this was your first time for both of you, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So, whoever wants to go first, how was your initial viewing?
Devin, I feel like I talked a lot at the top of the show, so you can talk a little bit more.
So this is one of those cultural touchstone movies that like gets parodied in just about everything. And it's one of those movies a bit like RoboCop where I had just assumed I know what's going to happen in the movie. I've like seen enough parody. I've seen enough of this in pop culture. I don't need to watch the movie. And unless I was being entirely honest, because I'm usually honest with you guys on the podcast. If anyone asked me, "Have you seen Psycho?" I'd probably just would have said yes. I've seen Psycho. I was genuinely surprised by this movie. The movie actually held some like a twist in it that I didn't see coming, and I thought was very cool. I think that a well-made movie is a well-made movie is a well-made movie, regardless of whether it's in black or white or like. It's incredible. And like I've seen people like lose their minds over the shower scene, so I was like ready for the shower scene. But it's a lot of the other scenes that I didn't know about that I think made the movie for me. And okay. I thought the whole thing was just I like this better than The Birds. This is number 2 favorite Hitchcock for me now.
What's for number
me?
1?
Vertigo.
Okay, sorry. Sorry, Alan.
For me, I kind of knew the twist coming. I knew the
Did
twist
you?
was coming. Yeah, I think we were talking about the same thing. But like Devin said, like I could probably list a bunch of things that parody this.
Mhm.
First that comes to mind is is Wayne's World with the donut man. Wee, 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 wee.
Mhm.
But just that music alone, you've heard over and over and over again. But even knowing the twists and turns that the movie takes, I think it's still well delivered. I think this would be one to watch if you don't know. If you don't know what's going on, I feel like this would be a really good one to like sink your teeth into. But knowing it, it still works. Like knowing everything that's going to happen with Norman Bates and the shower scene, like everything, like knowing all of that, it still works.
So hold on. One thing that shocked me about the movie, was it rated R for you guys too?
I didn't even check the rating.
It wasn't rated by then.
Yeah.
Yeah, for some reason so you guys had it on Netflix. I had to buy it on Amazon Video or Amazon Prime. And at the end of it, it was like this motion picture, like in big letters, was like this motion picture was rated R. And I was
So,
like, what?
so I did
So
not
it
have to
didn't show
watch.
till after you watched it?
Yeah.
That's weird.
I did not have to watch this on Netflix. I did what I usually do and searched it on my Apple TV to see who was streaming it, and it said next to it purchase. It's like, oh, I own this. That's weird. Because I back when I signed up for like Movies Anywhere or Vudu, they gave you like 5 movies for free, and this was one of them. I just haven't watched it.
What a good idea. Well done, past Alan.
Yeah.
Oh. And Netflix does have it rated R.
Huh.
Yeah. I was gonna say it's rated R on my end too, so on IMDb. But no, it didn't say anything about it. It just kind of faded out. So.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, maybe it's weird British Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird and British are the same word. You don't need to say it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
Okay, so 2 things I want to touch on first. One is the fact that it is in black and white, and this movie came out in 1960. By 1960, the majority of all new films coming out were done in color. The studio, though, Paramount, that Hitchcock made this movie through, was so afraid that it wasn't going to make money because they thought it would be too disturbing for viewers to make enough money, that Hitchcock foregoed, and I'm going to read this. Hitchcock, already a well-known director, needed to defer his standard $250,000 salary in lieu of a 60% of the film's gross. Paramount agreed to this deal, causing Hitchcock to instead receive over $15 million.
Was that the first time Hollywood ever did that? Because I feel like that's more common now. And, like, good for him.
Yeah, so...
It's probably early on for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know about, if that was the first time, if that was one of the first times or whatever, but that's what he had to do. He was like, look, fine, I'll give up my salary. I want to do it's like, I want to make this. I'll take 60% of the gross or whatever. And they were like, yeah, sure. It's not going to make that much money. Go ahead.
Incredible.
So he did everything he could for this movie to make money during production. As in, he hired a TV crew instead of a movie crew. He hired more TV actors instead of well-known movie actors. He also opted to film in black and white instead of color to save money.
So it wasn't even a style choice. It was a cost-cutting choice.
Like Kevin Smith, yes. Like Kevin Smith. To round it back.
Full circle. Well done.
He even what was this? Okay, so this movie was based off a book. And Alfred Hitchcock wanted this ending to be such a surprise to people that out of there were many things that we're going to talk about things that he did to make this a surprise for people. But one of the things he did, he actually he bought the rights anonymously to the book that this movie's based off of, and bought as many copies as he could for in 1959, 1958. He spent $9,000 buying all of the copies in circulation he could get after buying the rights to keep it off the shelf.
Why?
Because he didn't want people to know the ending. He didn't want people putting two and two together that the ending that that this movie's based off this book and this is what the ending is.
That's incredible. Nowadays they would slap a like soon to be Netflix series sticker on the book and sell more of them.
Yeah.
Wow.
So other things that he did to that extent was he had movie theaters had to turn away people within 10 minutes of the movie starting, because he wanted anyone showing up for the movie to get the full experience from beginning to end. So if you showed up like 5 minutes before the movie started, you'd have to wait for the next showing.
Well, hold on. I heard about this. Isn't it that before this movie, and you guys have to correct me here because it's like an urban legend I heard, before this movie, people could just kind of show up at any point in a movie, like catch the midpoint, watch till the end, and then stay for the next viewing or the next showtime to watch the beginning of it. Is that like somebody had told me that like theater was almost a revolving door until Psycho?
At some movie theaters it was like that, because remember the old like World War II news update reels that you'll see with like the real animated guys speaking over it, like our troops are enjoying their time off, and then it would show them like at like a USO show or something, and like cartoons and stuff. Those would play in between the movies, and kids would just hang out all day.
That sounds like the life, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I mean, it could be. I don't know. I do not know movie theater history trivia as well as I probably should.
Alan, do you know this? Was that like
I don't
true?
know it, but to be fair, that's any theater if you're sneaky enough. Even today.
I mean, all right, that's bad.
Yeah, I don't know. That makes sense. Like I feel like if that was the case, if anyone was going to change it, it was going to be Alfred Hitchcock. So
it's incredible.
Yeah. So, one of my favorite aspects about this movie, now as an adult watching this, has got to be the growth, or just the watching Crane, the main character, the woman. Well, I wouldn't really, the first main character of the movie. I'll put it that way. She watching her mental struggle from being at work, being basically flirted with, doing what she did, and then eventually going, I need to take all this back. I need to fix this, and then she doesn't get the chance. And that's my favorite aspect of the story. Looking at it now, what do you guys think of that? What's yours? I mean, which part of whose stories, whose characters thing is your favorite?
I think what I like about this the most is how it plays with your expectations so much. Because it does have that shift from who the main character is about halfway through. And I think it just takes guts to tell a story about this woman and then kill her off halfway through, spoilers, and then shift the focus to Norman Bates and like his side of it. Because he becomes the main character at that point, with him having to hide the body and get rid of the car, like it becomes his story, and like everyone connected to her thinks everything that happened was for another. Like the fact that the two plots are the everyone that is looking for her wants the plots to be connected because of this one key thing, which is the money, and it's not about the money at all. And I just like that you have two different stories happening at once that don't exactly line up, but at the same time rely on each other.
Yeah, it's really clever how it does that. And to be fair, that was the part that surprised me. So I knew the Norman Bates twist at the end with him. I knew that
Okay.
bit. What I didn't know is I didn't know that this movie changed main characters halfway through. I had no clue. I genuinely thought shower scene happened towards the end of the movie, like, and then she, like, I don't know, survived and like discovered everything everywhere. Anyway, like, I didn't know that that was about the midway point, and I didn't know that she didn't actually survive the scene. That's incredible.
You thought that she survived the infamous shower murder scene?
Yeah, I did. I truly did. Or that it was like one of those like weird like 'twas beauty that killed the beast like moments where like she was murdered, but then the detective was like, it was too late, but at least we know about Norman now or something. I didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I wasn't expecting it.
Okay, so this okay, so this realization, kind of similar to Devin's, happened to me when I saw this in high school, and referring back to when I saw this as like a 8, 9, 10-year old. I must have completely missed, like, or didn't realize that the shower scene was the main character. Like, I just thought it was like a random woman that was also at the motel because, like I said, I was playing with my toys, I was looking up, I was zoning in and out, whatever. So when you have her sister with the main with the ex main character's boyfriend, I guess as a kid I thought that was her.
Sure, I get it.
You know, because it's, you know, as a little kid and like as a not preteen yet in the early to mid 90s, watching a movie that was black and white that my parents were watching for their enjoyment, not really mine, I wasn't really paying attention to what the characters looked like that closely to be able to parse those two people apart. I can kind of see where Devin, I can see where you kind of went that way, because nothing's ever talked about this movie past the shower scene,
Right.
except for the skull that is like showing through on Norman Bates's face at the end. Like, nobody really talks about anything else about this movie except for those two things.
Look, first off, Ryan, you don't ever have to defend things you thought when you were 8 years old. It's okay to have thought they were the same person. To give you a sense of where we're at here, around the same age, I was introduced to Young Frankenstein and couldn't get through the first 5 minutes because it was in black and white. I get it. I love that movie now. As an adult with a fully formed brain, I get it. But, like, yeah, man, it's totally fine that you thought they were the same person.
Yeah. I don't know if fully forms what I would call it.
I did grow up drinking Newville water.
Well, I was going to say Abby Normal.
Exactly.
Okay, so one of these, and so my wife was watching this with me, and one of the scenes that her and I were kind of heckling, not really heckling, just kind of joking back and forth, was the scene from where she gets woken up on the side of the highway by the cop, to the point where she buys the new car and drives off in a hurry.
Was it pushy used car salesman is the worst character?
Well, it's not really the worst character, just like how suspicious she was acting, how you know, like overbearing the cop, like everybody was playing their like emotional stakes to like 11, like every single person. Like the cop was you know, probably the most like quiet but stern performance as of a police officer I've seen in a movie till now. She was acting more suspicious than she ever had to be. I mean, granted, she's nervous because of what she did. But she's, you know, shaking like a chihuahua the entire time. And then you have the pushy car salesman that, you know, is trying to make a sale. But then he's the one that's getting pressured. Like, that whole thing to us was just kind of humorous, and then the cop is on the other side of the street just staring at her the entire time. So we were just kind of like making comments back and forth at each other about that whole thing.
I think so you're making me remember how much I appreciated the used car salesman's deal, because he was too much. He was at like an 11. Like, the first line out of him is like, "You're not trouble, huh? They always say the first customer's trouble. Are you trouble?" And like, no, she's very clearly scared. "Oh, we're in a hurry now, ain't we, miss?" Stop it. It's like he had a quip for everything.
I know we're going to talk about this later, but did you see that part in the remake comparison I sent you guys?
No, I absolutely didn't.
Picture a modern day used car salesman. Turn that up to 11, and that's what he looks like. Shiny blue, like button down shirt, cowboy hat, all of it.
Oh, gosh. No, don't ruin this. Do you know what I have in my head is Danny DeVito from Matilda? That's my used car salesman.
Sleazier. Sleazy. And that's without audio. Like the video I was watching was just...
He's just oozes 90s.
Yeah.
Hold on. Do you guys know what that character's name is, by the way?
No, I didn't even look it up.
California Charlie.
That's right. He says his name. He
Alfred
says his
Hitchcock.
name.
Well done.
You're not gonna give California Charlie a bad rap, are you? You're gonna leave without spinning it around?
Is that the only profession it's okay to talk about yourself in the third person ever?
To be honest, I think so.
Because I've never been like, "Are you ready to learn with Devin Struthers?" Like, ugh.
Well, I mean, Michael Jordan did that once, and he got a pass. But it's Michael Jordan. But he didn't do it for like his whole career.
I don't know if it's even acceptable for used car salesmen to do it. Like they do, but they shouldn't.
Totally fair. I was just remembering my every interaction with a used car salesman. My best one was someone walked up to me and go, "So you buying it or what?" Whoa, well done.
Okay, so I wanted to go over one little history nod comparison that I couldn't. It still makes my brain hurt. So, did you guys see how much those cars were? Did you even look at the windows that when they were passing the cars to see the years and the cost?
I know that she paid her car plus $700.
Okay, so it was the movie's 1960.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the cars that were behind them as they were walking had like 59, 58, 57. Mm-hmm. So late 50s models cars. On the windows, like $1,200, $1,100, $1,000, $900, like what you would probably expect. So I could tell that you guys two were trying to stay away from some of the plot points in case someone hasn't really seen the movie yet.
Yeah.
But at some point, the money amount of $40,000 comes up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In this movie. So I decided to do the inflation adjustment between 1960 and 2023, and it's like $409,000 and $997.
Whoa.
Yeah, like
so
it's
that is pretty accurate for what they did in the remake. They had to inflate the money too. It was adjusted from 40,000 to 400,000.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah,
good job with Matt there. Vince Vaughn. Like, good job. I blanked on his name. No, he plays Norman. Okay. He plays Norman Bates.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah, so Ryan, there was you had us watch a movie a long time ago where somebody like their car was ruined and they were like, "My $3,000 car." And like nowadays we're like, "That's adorable. I'll take a $3,000 car, please."
Yeah. It's my obsession with like watching older films and listening to dollar amounts and then automatically wanting to calculate that for inflation came from the movie Billy Jack. I know in Gilmore Girls they make fun of Billy Jack, but I can't remember the specific movie that my dad loved of that series. But there's a scene where, just like Devin said, Billy Jack has this mayor or sheriff's son drive his brand new 1972 Stingray Camaro into a lake. And the son starts flipping out, like, that's a $5,000 car. Are you nuts? And he starts screaming at the top of his lungs. And I look at my dad. I'm like, did he buy it used? And he's like, no, that was a brand new price. so I mean, like, ever since then, I've been obsessed with like the like inflation amount between when older movies said certain things cost to like now. And my last thing before we go to talking about the remake to this movie and doing the comparisons, Hitchcock did the thing where he put himself in the background of all of the movies that he made, or at least the later ones that he made that I know of. Did you guys catch him in this one?
Definitely not. No.
Okay. This one is more of the harder one to pick. It happened within 6 to 7 minutes of the movie starting, and he walks. He either walks by the office window of the bank or investment firm that the main character works at the very beginning. He's either walking by it or he's walking in a manner to make it look like he just walked out.
But I see a picture of it now.
Yeah. But he walks by the window, and it happens very early at the start of the film. So if anybody out there who likes to, know that little factoid about these movies, since there's a lot of people that are huge fans of his, that's one of the things that a lot of people look for. So it happens really quick. It happens within like 6-7 minutes at the start of the movie.
You told me that when we watched The Birds, and I went, the next one we're going to watch, I'm going to look out for him, and then promptly forgot about it.
That's usually what happens with those movies. I mean, I'm sure if we were living in the late 50s, early 60s, and these movies were coming out, this would be you two and me, possibly, with the way that you guys like movies for back then. If you guys were the same movie nerds that you are now, I'm sure that you guys would be like trying to find that spot, and that'd be one of the things that people would talk about. Be like, where do you think he's going to come into in this movie?
It's fair. Yeah. It's totally fair.
Yeah. Okay, so Alan, you sent Devin and I a little snip video of the remake from when again?
1998. So in 1998, the filmmaker Gus Van Sant decided to remake Psycho shot for shot. And let me read his quote verbatim as to when asked why he wanted to remake the film in this manner, Van Sant responded, "Why not? It's a marketing scheme. Why does a studio ever remake a film? Because they have this little thing they've forgotten about and they could put it in the marketplace and make money from."
Who is this awful man?
I want the champion of truth. I want
do you want to know what he directed right before Psycho? Because we've done it on the show. Good Will Hunting. Good Will
Hunting?
Yes.
What?
He got off Good Will Hunting. He's like, you know what I'm going to do next? Psycho. Again.
Holy cow.
Shot for shot. The film stars Anne Heche, Julianne Moore, Viggo Mortensen, William H. Macy, and Vince Vaughn.
It's incredible. The cast is incredible.
Surprisingly, it did not do well. But there are some diversions from the 1960 film. We already mentioned the 40,000 becoming 400,000. Obviously, it takes place in modern day. During the scene where Norman Bates spies on Marion through the peephole as she undresses, it is explicit that Bates is playing with the Donut Man through the use of sound effects as well as Vaughn's performance, which suggests Bates' voyeuristic encounter ends with him making a psycho face.
Oh, gross. Oh, that was... Oh, don't do that.
Van Sant also employed several surreal subliminal images that were edited into the film's murder sequence, likened by horror writer Charles Derry as surreal memory fragments that flash before a character's eyes as they die. So like like a frame of, I think it's like spiders and stuff.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to watch that then.
So the one thing that I like about it is that it's not just shot for shot, but they kept in. So there's a lot of references to birds in Psycho, as in the main character's last name is Crane. Norman Bates is into taxidermy, but he specifically likes to taxidermy birds. I'm sure there's something in there. I couldn't find anything to explain what the meaning to all of that was. But I love the fact that they still have in the shots that I saw that they still had a lot of the bird portraits that he had up in the rooms, the taxidermied birds that he had in his office or the parlor, he called it, which I find a lot of old style traditions. I don't know what else to call it. Not traditions, but just like the fact that like the main office had a parlor is
I
weird
love that.
to me.
Was it a waiting room now? Is it just a classier way to call it a waiting room?
But it was behind the counter.
I would think of that as more of like a office. I mean, a parlor's not a weird thing. Like, it's kind of like a little lobby. Like, it's a motel. It's not going to be the Ritz-Carlton.
Well, I mean,
I'm going to start referring to my houses in terms of those things. So I'm currently in my parlor. I'm going to walk out into my den, next to my veranda, into my master bed.
On the floor layout of my apartment, this is the den. It's labeled the den.
Yeah. So yeah, the remake didn't do much, but there were some other sequels to Psycho.
No, there wasn't.
Psycho 2, Psycho 2 in 1983, Psycho 3 in 1986, what? Psycho 4: The Beginning, which is a part prequel TV movie written to take place before the movie. There's also Bates Motel, which is a TV series that ran from 2013 to 2017.
I think that one I knew about.
Yeah. Which featured Freddie Highmore as a young Norman Bates, Vera Farmiga as Norma Bates. Really? Her name's Norma, and he's Norman.
That's funny.
And then in the final season, Rihanna as Marion Crane.
What?
Yeah.
That's very cool.
I kind of want to watch this show because I've heard good things about it. But what was interesting to me is I guess they featured the making of this in the 2012 biopic Hitchcock, which stars Anthony Hopkins as Alfred Hitchcock, Helen Mirren as his wife, Scarlett Johansson as Janet Leigh, and James Darcy as Anthony Perkins, who played Norman Bates. So I guess they recreate shots of Psycho in that. So,
and actually, here, so I'm looking up ratings on the sequel to the Psycho films, and I find this very interesting because usually, like, sequels to movies like this, because like I probably saw the posters for Psycho 2 and 3. I just bypassed them because it's not that I didn't connect them. It's just my mind goes to, well, I've never heard of these, so they were probably awful. You know, like Jaws 3. And so IDVM has it at a 6.6, Rotten Tomatoes at a 61, and Letterboxd has it at a 3.4 out of 5. I'm very surprised that those are that high.
I mean, I just looked it up. There are some articles that say that it's a misunderstood classic.
What, Psycho 2?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they had Anthony Perkins back as Norman Bates. That's, I mean, I think that's incredible enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I laughed, but when you guys get a chance, look up the poster to Psycho 3.
I'm going to right now.
It's an animated Norman Bates handing you a room key, and it is the funniest thing I've seen today.
I hate it. Why would you do this?
I would definitely stay at that motel.
Now, Hollywood Studios, Disney, Walt Disney World, Florida, the Hollywood Studios Park. That's the one that has the Tower of Terror.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Off to the side is Norman Bates's house on a hill.
Oh, no way.
It's sized proportioned so that when you walk by you can see it. I don't think they have the Bates Motel set up, but they definitely, I remember that being there. They do have stuff that's not Disney owned in the park.
I was going to say they do have the Bates Hotel, Bates Motel, and the house at Universal Studios, because Universal made this movie. So they have that in Hollywood.
Yeah, they have the original one there, and it's real cool because during Halloween Fright Nights, they make the hotel and the house like part of the attraction. So you get to like walk through the hotel and like walk through the house, and they have like the mom in a rocking chair in a window. It's so cool.
Yeah, the Hollywood Studios part of Disney World, Florida, they have like the Bates house like off to the side of where the Tower of Terror is.
That's fun.
I remember they used to have the Golden Girls house.
Did they?
Yeah.
Where was this? Is this in?
They had in Florida at Disney.
Oh wow!
Hollywood Studios. They had the backlot tour, and that was part of the backlot.
Is that still there? The backlot tour?
No.
Aw.
No, they got rid of it to put in Star Wars Land.
Arguably a better call.
It's a much better. I know there's a lot of hardcore Gilmore Girls, Golden Girls fans out there, but that was a much better financial option for them.
Yeah, because guess what? The Star Wars Land isn't closing after a year, so.
But the hotel is.
But the hotel is.
Oh, I'm glad you know
what
about
happens
that.
when you charge an arm and a leg for a night.
Yeah. Well, I think they're going to rebrand it and make it the Golden Palace, the spinoff from the Golden Girls, and just have Don Cheadle running the whole thing.
I didn't even know that was a thing, and that hurts.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's the Psycho remake. I highly recommend you guys checking out the whole comparison thing, because it's weird, because evidently William H. Macy, who plays the private detective, decided to like not do what everyone else is doing and make it modern. He just like, no, I'm just gonna do what he did, and like plays it the same way.
I mean, honestly, that kind of works. Okay, so besides the wrapping everything up, you can't have an older horror film that scared the living daylights out of people. And there's video, and you know how for like modern horror movies and like the advertisements, they'll show the like test screen audiences screaming. I personally hate that, but they have video of the test screen audiences from this movie, and it's really funny seeing people freak out about this one, because I mean, modern, we're what, 70 years, 80 years removed from 1960. And it's very funny to like see a movie that's this, that it's done really well. It is disturbing, it is unsettling, but compared to a lot of the stuff that we've seen since then, there are parts of this that kind of like, okay, that was disturbing, that's become a trope, this has become something I've seen on daytime TV, that like it doesn't really kind of hold its like, shock level, and to where some of it makes it funny. And besides the moment when she's buying the car that my wife and I were making comments to each other about, the other part is when he goes to sink Crane's car in the lake, and it stops for a split second. Now, the reason why that's funny to Kristen and I, well, it was humorous to us because we were making comments to each other. We've been watching a lot of those like dive channel stuff on YouTube, where the divers go out and they not specifically go out to find cars, but they just go to like hunt in a lake, and they'll occasionally find a car. And it was just interesting seeing him trying to sink the car, and then it like stops, and I'm just like, he's got to throw bushes on it. It's not going to go all the way down. But there are things in these older movies, even though they're done so well, that don't really hold up in the level of like how tense that they were before doesn't really hold up to now. Was there any moments like that? I mean, they don't have to be like comedic, but was there anything that was supposed to that was supposed to be tense that you could tell was supposed to be, but just the disconnect between that style to today just didn't hold it for you? If that question makes any sense at all.
It does. No, it totally does. I had that moment in the shower scene when I feel like a very impactful shot in this is you see Norman approaching the shower from like you're in the shower, the camera's in the shower with the victim, and you see him approaching, you see a silhouette in the shower screen, having just watched him peeking in on her. There's that moment of, oh, what is he gonna do? And like that, I think was like, I know what he's gonna do because I live in 2023 and know what's gonna happen. But for me, like, I guess that would have been a lot more tense had I just seen it for the first time.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's anything like that for me. I can't really think of anything.
That's fine.
I think what took the only thing that jumps out at me is probably the back and forth between him and the mother, like the dialogue. Because like I'm trying to figure out, listening to it, like I was trying to figure out, like, did they do it in one take? Like, is he talking like this, then talking like this, and the next line, and then talking like this to himself? Like, was he doing it like that, or did they do a voiceover artist and have an actual voice of the mother? Like, just that kind of thing. Like, just the tonal differences and trying to figure out if the voice matched enough or not. But that's just me.
Really interesting.
Yeah, and there's other moments where like she's driving and they do the voiceover of conversations that aren't happening in earshot of her, like her boss and like her coworker are talking about, where is she as she's driving. And it took me honestly about 15 seconds to be like, okay, that conversation's actually happening. Hitchcock wants me to know that she's nervous about that conversation happening. That is the conversation that is happening, and that's where she is when it's happening. That's how I took it.
I figured it was just her thinking through a scenario in her head, to be honest.
And that's probably it too, because to be honest, that's how the conversation would have gone out anyway.
Yeah, but if you compare that to like Norman at the end, like I think I lean more towards that's her playing it out in her head, because if that's the voices in her head having that conversation, then you hear in that last shot you hear the mother's voice in his head telling him everything that she says. Like, I think it plays better that way. Like, I agree that it could be both, but I think it plays better as the voice in the head, where you actually have like voices, like scenarios playing out, or like the voice of your dead mother. Like,
So that's all. That's all I got. The last movie that I'm going to have you guys watch before we do high anxiety is going to be Vertigo, unless you both have seen it.
Have you seen it, Alan?
I have not.
Oh,
okay,
good.
Okay, so that may or may not be my next pick, because I don't know if I want to break this up a little bit. But
I mean, if it's going to get us to Mel Brooks, don't.
I want to get to Mel Brooks.
You want to get to Mel Brooks?
I love Mel Brooks.
Okay, so then Vertigo will be the next movie 3 weeks from now.
I also love Vertigo.
Sounds good. 4 weeks. 4 weeks.
Yeah.
4 weeks. That's right.
On that note, we will be taking next week off because Devin will be in town, and instead of doing a whole podcast show thing, we're going to go to the movies together because we can. With great power comes great responsibility. So we're going to go see Spider-Man. Maybe we'll record a little something to throw out there. Maybe not. But yeah, we're going to take next week off. And we're taking the following week off too.
I can't be on the following week.
We're taking the next 2 weeks off, folks. So
Summer break.
Summer break. My summer break starts tomorrow afternoon. So Yeah, we're gonna take some time off. Maybe Ryan and I will be back the following week. But definitely taking next week off. So don't expect a show from us next week. Expect some fun stuff from us next week, but not that.
We'll still miss
Not a full show. We have some fun plans outside of the podcast. And we have a wedding to attend. So Devin and I will be tuxedoing it up.
Friend of the show, Chad.
Yeah, friend of the show, Chad. So until then, if you want to see all of our fun adventures with Devin back in the States, make sure to follow us on Instagram, like us on Facebook, and get caught up on some older episodes of You Have to Watch This Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Stitcher, Amazon Podcasts, everywhere. And if you want to watch the show, see our pretty faces, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel where we have a backlog of all of our video podcasts there as well. You can also visit rumrunnerspodcastnetwork.com to check out all of the other Rum Runners Network shows there. And you can come see us and Rum Runners at Harrisburg Comic and Pop Con on August 28th and 27th, where we will be doing some giveaways, maybe selling some stuff. It'll be a lot of fun. So come see us there. Until next time, for You Have to Watch This Podcast, I'm Alan.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Devin.
Ree.